I still remember the last time my son called me Mom. It was 2 days before his wedding. He was standing in the kitchen, adjusting his tie in front of the mirror. He turned to me with that smile I had known since he was a baby. He said, "Mom, does this look okay?" I reached up and fixed his collar. I told him he looked perfect. He hugged me, and I held on a little longer than I should have. I didn't know that would be the last time. After the wedding, everything changed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was quiet, like a door closing softly in the middle of the night. He stopped calling. He stopped visiting. And when I called him, he answered like I was a stranger. His voice was different, distant, like I was bothering him. At first, I told myself he was just busy. Newlyweds need time, right? They're building a life together. I should give them space. So I did. I waited. I smiled through the silence. I convinced myself it was temporary. But weeks turned into months. And months turned into a year. And I realized something that broke me in a way I never thought possible. My son didn't need time. He had made a choice. And that choice didn't include me. I don't know when it happened. I don't know what I did wrong. Maybe I loved him too much. Maybe I held on too tight. Or maybe, after all those years of sacrifice, I had simply become invisible. The woman who raised him alone, who gave up everything, who worked 2 jobs to put food on the table, she didn't matter anymore. This is my story. And if you've ever felt forgotten by someone you gave everything to, maybe it's yours too. Back to the beginning. Back when things were simple. Back when it was just the two of us. My son's name is Daniel. I named him after my father, who passed away before Daniel was born. From the moment I held him in my arms, I knew my life had changed forever. He was this tiny, perfect little human, and I was responsible for him. It was terrifying. But it was also the most beautiful thing I had ever experienced. Daniel's father left when Daniel was only 3 years old. One morning, he said he was going to the store. He never came back. No letter. No phone call. Just gone. I won't lie and say it didn't hurt. It did. But I didn't have time to fall apart. I had a little boy who needed me. So I did what any mother would do. I worked. I worked hard. I took a job at a local diner during the day and cleaned offices at night. Daniel stayed with my neighbor, Mrs. Parker, a sweet old woman who loved him like her own grandson. She never asked for much. Just a little help with groceries now and then. I was grateful for her. Daniel grew up knowing that life wasn't easy. But I made sure he never felt unloved. Every night, no matter how tired I was, I would sit with him and read him a story. I would tuck him in and kiss his forehead. I would tell him that everything would be okay. And I believed it. I had to. He was a good kid. Quiet. Thoughtful. He didn't ask for much. While other kids wanted expensive toys, Daniel was happy with a soccer ball and a notebook. He loved to draw. He would sit at the kitchen table for hours, sketching animals and houses and faraway places. I would watch him and wonder what he was thinking. What dreams were growing inside that little mind. 10. I finally got a better job. I started working as a secretary at a law firm. The pay was better and the hours were normal. For the first time in years, I could breathe a little. I could take Daniel to the park on weekends. I could buy him new clothes without checking my wallet 3 times. Life was getting better. Daniel did well in school. He wasn't the loudest kid in class, but he was smart. His teachers always said he was kind and respectful. That made me proud. I didn't have much to give him, but I gave him values. I taught him to be honest, to work hard, to treat people with respect. I thought that was enough. As he grew older, we became more than just mother and son. We became a team. When he was in high school, he started working part-time at a grocery store. He didn't have to. I told him to focus on his studies. But he insisted. He said he wanted to help. And he did. He would come home with his paycheck and hand me half of it. I would try to refuse, but he would just smile and say, "We're in this together, Mom." Those words meant everything to me. Daniel graduated high school with honors. I cried at his graduation. Not because I was sad, but because I was so incredibly proud. This boy, this young man, had grown up without a father, without money, without any of the privileges other kids had. And yet, he had made it. He had worked hard and earned his place. I felt like all my sacrifices had been worth it. He got a scholarship to a local college. He studied business. He wanted to start his own company someday. I believed in him. I always had. Even when he doubted himself, I was there to remind him that he could do anything he set his mind to. In college, Daniel lived at home. He said it was to save money, but I think part of him just didn't want to leave me alone. And I was grateful for that. We had our routines. I would make breakfast before he left for class. He would come home in the evenings, and we would have dinner together. We would talk about his day, his classes, his dreams. Those were some of the happiest years of my life. Then, in his final year of college, Daniel met Emily. He came home one evening with a look I had never seen before. His eyes were bright. His smile was wide. He sat down at the kitchen table and said, "Mom, I met someone." I remember feeling a flutter in my chest, a mix of excitement and fear. I wanted him to be happy. Of course I did. But I also knew that this was the beginning of something new. Something that would change everything. He told me about Emily. She was in his business class. She was smart, ambitious, and beautiful, he said. He talked about her like she was the most amazing person in the world. And I smiled. I told him I was happy for him. Because I was. I truly was. Over the next few months, Daniel talked about Emily constantly. He brought her home to meet me. She was polite. She shook my hand and smiled. She complimented the house. She thanked me for dinner. Everything seemed fine. I tried to like her. I wanted to like her. But something felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it. Maybe it was the way she looked around the house, like she was judging it. Or the way she spoke to Daniel, like she was already in charge. I told myself I was being paranoid. I was just a mother who didn't want to lose her son. Daniel and Emily started spending more and more time together. He still lived at home, but he was rarely there. He would leave early in the morning and come back late at night. When I asked him about his day, his answers were short. "It was fine, Mom. Nothing much happened." I felt him slipping away, but I didn't know how to stop it. After graduation, Daniel got a job at a marketing firm. Emily got a job at the same company. They were inseparable. And then, one evening, Daniel came home and told me they were getting married. I should have been thrilled. I should have hugged him and cried happy tears. But instead, I felt a weight settle in my chest. I smiled. I congratulated him. I told him I was so proud. But inside, I felt something breaking. I knew, deep down, that things would never be the same. The wedding was planned quickly. Emily wanted a small ceremony. Just close family and friends. I offered to help with the planning, but Emily had already taken care of everything. She had chosen the venue, the flowers, the music. She didn't need my input. And when I tried to offer suggestions, she would smile politely and say, "Thank you, but we've already decided." I felt like an outsider at my own son's wedding. The day of the wedding arrived. I wore my best dress. I did my hair and makeup. I wanted to look good for Daniel. I wanted him to be proud of me. The ceremony was beautiful. Daniel looked so handsome in his suit. Emily looked stunning in her white dress. When they said their vows, I cried. I cried because I was happy for him. But I also cried because I felt like I was losing him. At the reception, I sat at a table near the back. Emily's family was loud and cheerful. They laughed and danced and celebrated. I tried to join in, but I felt out of place. Daniel came over to me once during the evening. He kissed my cheek and said, "Thank you for everything, Mom." And then he was gone, pulled away by friends and family and well-wishers. That night, as I drove home alone, I realized something. My role in Daniel's life had changed. I was no longer the center of his world. I was just there, a part of his past. And I didn't know how to accept that. A few weeks after the wedding were strange. Daniel and Emily moved into a small apartment across town. It wasn't far from where I lived. Maybe a 20-minute drive. But it felt like a different world. I gave them space. I didn't want to be that mother. The one who calls every day. The one who shows up unannounced. I waited for Daniel to reach out to me. He didn't. A week passed. Then two. I told myself he was busy. Settling into married life. Setting up their new home. I understood. Or at least I tried to. But by the third week, I couldn't wait anymore. I picked up the phone and called him. He answered on the fifth ring. His voice sounded distracted. Hello. Hi, sweetheart. It's me. I tried to sound cheerful. Light. Like everything was normal. Oh. Hi, Mom. There was a pause. I could hear voices in the background. Emily's voice, maybe. What's up? What's up? That's how he greeted me now? I swallowed the hurt and kept my voice steady. I just wanted to check in. See how you're doing. How's the new place? It's good. We're still unpacking. Another pause. Listen, Mom, I'm kind of in the middle of something. Can I call you back later? Of course. Of course. Take your time. I hung up before my voice could crack. He didn't call back. I waited 3 more days. Then I called again. This time, he didn't answer. I left a voicemail. Hi, Daniel. Just your mom. I was thinking maybe we could have dinner sometime this week. I miss you. Call me when you can. He texted me 2 days later. Sorry, Mom. Been really busy with work. Maybe next week. Next week came and went. No call. No text. Nothing. I started to feel it then. That cold, sinking feeling in my stomach. The one that tells you something is wrong. But I pushed it down. I made excuses. He's adjusting to married life. He's building his career. He'll come around. I just needed to be patient. But patience is a heavy thing to carry when you're alone. Monday afternoon, I decided to visit them. I baked Daniel's favorite cookies. Chocolate chip with walnuts. The same recipe I had used since he was a child. I wrapped them in foil and drove to their apartment. My heart was racing the whole way. I felt nervous. Like I was doing something wrong. But I missed my son. I just wanted to see him. I knocked on the door. I heard footsteps inside. The door opened, and there was Emily. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked surprised to see me. Oh. Hi. She didn't smile. She just stood there, blocking the doorway. Hi, Emily. I hope I'm not interrupting. I baked some cookies for you and Daniel. I thought I'd drop them by. I held up the foil-wrapped package like a peace offering. She glanced at the cookies, then back at me. That's sweet. But we're actually pretty busy right now. I looked past her into the apartment. I could see Daniel sitting on the couch, his laptop open in front of him. He looked up and saw me. For a moment, our eyes met. I smiled. I waited for him to get up, to come to the door, to invite me in. He didn't. He just gave me a small wave and looked back down at his screen. My heart sank. Emily took the cookies from my hands. Thank you for these. I'll make sure Daniel gets them. She started to close the door. Wait, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Can I just say hi to him? Just for a minute. Emily hesitated. She glanced back at Daniel, then at me. He's really swamped with a work project. Maybe another time. And then she closed the door. I stood there in the hallway for a moment, staring at the closed door. I felt tears prickling at the corners of my eyes, but I blinked them away. I walked back to my car in a daze. I sat in the driver's seat and gripped the steering wheel. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. But instead, I just drove home in silence. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moment in my mind. The way Emily had blocked the door. The way Daniel had barely looked at me. The way I had been dismissed like a stranger. I didn't understand. What had I done wrong? The next few weeks were more of the same. I would text Daniel. He would respond with short, one-word answers. Busy. Working. Later. I stopped calling. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to annoy him. So I waited. And waited. And the silence grew louder. Then came Mother's Day. I didn't expect much. Maybe a phone call. Maybe a text. I woke up that morning and checked my phone. Nothing. I made myself breakfast and sat at the kitchen table. The house felt so empty. I thought about all the Mother's Days we had celebrated together. Daniel would always make me breakfast in bed. Burnt toast and overcooked eggs. But it was made with love, and that's all that mattered. By noon, there was still nothing. I told myself he would call in the afternoon. He was probably planning something. A surprise, maybe. I tried to stay hopeful. By evening, I realized there would be no call. I sat on the couch and stared at my phone. I wanted to call him, but I didn't. I didn't want to guilt him into acknowledging me. If he had forgotten, then that told me everything I needed to know. At 9 o'clock that night, my phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Happy Mother's Day, Mom." That was it. 5 words. "No, I love you." "No, I'm sorry I didn't call." Just 5 cold, obligatory words. I cried myself to sleep that night. Breaking point came a month later. I had tried to stay strong. I had tried to give Daniel space. But I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to understand what was happening. So I called him. And this time, I didn't let him brush me off. "Daniel, we need to talk," I said as soon as he answered. There was a long silence. Then he sighed. "About what, Mom?" "About us. About why you've been avoiding me. Did I do something wrong? Did I say something that upset you?" "No, Mom. You didn't do anything wrong." "Then why does it feel like you don't want me in your life anymore?" Another silence. I could hear him breathing. I could feel him struggling with his words. Finally, he spoke. "It's not like that. I've just been really busy. Emily and I are building a life together. We have a lot going on. I understand that, sweetheart. But I'm still your mother. I miss you. I feel like I'm losing you." "You're not losing me." His voice was softer now. Almost sad. "Things are just different now. I have responsibilities. A wife. A career. I can't be the same person I was before. I'm not asking you to be. I just want to be part of your life. Is that too much to ask?" He didn't answer right away. And when he did, his words cut through me like a knife. "Mom, Emily thinks it's better if we have some boundaries. She feels like you're too involved. She thinks we need space to grow as a couple." I felt my chest tighten. "Emily said that?" "She's my wife, Mom. I have to consider her feelings too." "And what about my feelings? Do they matter at all?" "Of course they do. But this is my marriage. I have to put Emily first." I had to argue. I wanted to tell him that I had put him first his entire life. That I had sacrificed everything for him. That I had worked myself to exhaustion to give him a good life. But I didn't say any of that. Because I knew it wouldn't matter. He had made his choice. "Okay," I whispered. "I understand." "Mom." "No, it's fine. I'll give you space. I won't bother you anymore." "Mom, don't be like that." "I'm not being like anything, Daniel. I'm respecting your wishes. That's what you want, right?" He didn't respond. The silence stretched between us like an endless canyon. Finally, I spoke again. "I love you. I always will. But I can't keep chasing after you. If you want me in your life, you know where to find me." And then I hung up. I sat on my couch and let the tears come. I cried for the little boy who used to hold my hand. I cried for the young man who used to call me his best friend. I cried for the son I had lost to a woman who saw me as a threat. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Daniel didn't call. He didn't text. And I kept my promise. I didn't reach out. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. Every day, I wanted to pick up the phone. I wanted to hear his voice. But I didn't. Because I had to protect what little dignity I had left. One evening, I ran into Mrs. Parker at the grocery store. She was the neighbor who used to watch Daniel when he was little. She hugged me and asked how I was doing. I told her I was fine. She asked about Daniel. I said he was good, busy with his new life. She smiled and said she was happy for him. Then she asked when I had last seen him. "It's been a while," I said quietly. The smile faded. She looked at me with such sadness. "Oh, honey. I'm so sorry." I nodded. I couldn't speak. If I spoke, I would break down right there in the middle of the cereal aisle. She squeezed my hand. "You were a wonderful mother to that boy. Don't ever forget that." I thanked her and walked away before the tears could fall. That night, I sat in Daniel's old room. I hadn't changed it. His trophies were still on the shelf. His drawings were still pinned to the wall. I ran my fingers over his old desk and remembered all the times I had helped him with his homework. All the times he had looked up at me with those big, trusting eyes and said, "You're the best, Mom." Where had that boy gone? When did I stop being enough? I didn't have answers. All I had was an empty house and a broken heart. 6 months had passed since that last phone call with Daniel. 6 long, lonely months. I had kept myself busy. I worked. I gardened. I volunteered at the local community center. I tried to fill the emptiness with activities, with routines, with anything that would keep me from thinking about him. But no matter what I did, the ache was always there. A constant presence. Like a shadow I couldn't escape. I had learned to live with it. The silence. The absence. I told myself this was just how life worked. Children grow up. They move on. They build their own families. And mothers, well, mothers learn to let go. But letting go is easier said than done when your heart still holds on. It was a Thursday afternoon in October when everything changed. I remember because the leaves were turning orange and gold. The air was crisp. I had just gotten home from the grocery store. I was putting away the milk when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "Hello. Is this Mrs. Patterson?" A woman's voice. Professional. Polite. "Yes, this is she. This is Jennifer from St. Mary's Hospital. I'm calling about your son, Daniel Patterson. He's been admitted to our emergency room." My heart stopped. The carton of milk slipped from my hands and hit the floor. I didn't even notice. What? What happened? Is he okay? He was in a car accident. He's stable now, but he's going to need surgery. You're listed as his emergency contact. Can you come to the hospital? I was already grabbing my keys. I'm on my way. I don't remember the drive to the hospital. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing. Car accident. Surgery. Stable. What did stable mean? Was he hurt badly? Was he in pain? I pressed harder on the gas pedal. I didn't care about speed limits. I just needed to get to him. When I arrived at the hospital, I ran to the emergency desk. "My son, Daniel Patterson. Where is he?" The nurse checked her computer. "He's in surgery right now. 3rd floor. There's a waiting room. Someone will update you as soon as they can." I took the elevator to the 3rd floor. My legs felt weak. My chest felt tight. I walked into the waiting room and stopped. Emily was there. She was sitting in a chair, her face pale, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. When she saw me, she stood up. We stared at each other for a moment. Neither of us spoke. Finally, I broke the silence. "What happened?" Emily's voice was barely a whisper. "He was driving home from work. A truck ran a red light and hit his car on the driver's side. They brought him here about an hour ago." "How bad is it?" "He has internal bleeding. A broken rib. They're operating now to stop the bleeding." Her voice cracked. For the first time since I'd met her, Emily looked vulnerable. Scared. Human. I sat down in a chair. My whole body felt numb. I tried to process what she had just told me. Internal bleeding. Surgery. My son was on an operating table right now, and I hadn't even known. If the hospital hadn't called me, would Emily have told me? Would Daniel have wanted me to know? I pushed those thoughts away. They didn't matter right now. The only thing that mattered was Daniel. We sat in silence for what felt like hours. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. People came and went. Nurses walked by. But Emily and I didn't speak. We were two strangers united only by our fear for the same person. Finally, a doctor came into the waiting room. He was older, with gray hair and tired eyes. "Family of Daniel Patterson?" We both stood up. "The surgery went well," he said. "We were able to stop the bleeding. He's going to be okay. He'll need to stay in the hospital for a few days, but he should make a full recovery." I felt my knees buckle. Emily grabbed my arm to steady me. The relief was so overwhelming that I couldn't breathe. I pressed my hand to my chest and tried to hold back tears. "Can we see him?" Emily asked. "He's in recovery right now. He should be awake in about an hour. You can see him then. But only one visitor at a time for now." Emily looked at me. For the first time, I saw something in her eyes. Not hostility. Not judgment. Just exhaustion. You can go first, she said quietly. I was surprised. But I didn't argue. Thank you. An hour later, a nurse led me to Daniel's room. My heart was pounding as I walked through the door. And there he was. My son, lying in a hospital bed with tubes and wires connected to him. His face was bruised. His eyes were closed. He looked so small, so fragile, like the little boy I used to tuck into bed every night. I walked over to his bedside and took his hand. It was warm. I squeezed it gently. Daniel, I whispered. It's Mom. I'm here. His eyes fluttered open. He looked at me, confused at first. Then recognition dawned. Mom? His voice was hoarse. Yes, sweetheart. I'm here. Tears filled his eyes. Mom, I'm sorry. Shh, don't talk. You need to rest. No, I need to say this. He squeezed my hand weakly. I'm so sorry. For everything. For pushing you away. For making you feel like you didn't matter. You do matter. You always have. I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. They streamed down my face. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. Yes, I do. His voice broke. When I was in that car, when I thought I might die, all I could think about was you. About how I had treated you. About how I never told you how much I love you. How much I appreciate everything you did for me. I leaned down and kissed his forehead. I know, sweetheart. I've always known. I was trying to be a good husband. Emily said we needed boundaries. She said you were too dependent on me. And I believed her. I thought I was doing the right thing. But I wasn't. I was just hurting the person who loved me most. Daniel, you don't have to explain. Please, Mom. Let me finish. He took a shaky breath. I forgot who you were. I forgot what you sacrificed. You raised me alone. You worked 2 jobs. You gave up everything so I could have a better life. And how did I repay you? By abandoning you. By making you feel like you weren't important. You didn't abandon me. Yes, I did. And I hate myself for it. He closed his eyes, tears slipping down his cheeks. When I was lying in that car, waiting for the ambulance, I kept thinking about all the times you were there for me. Every scraped knee. Every bad day at school. Every moment I needed you, you were there. And when you needed me, I wasn't. I stroked his hair gently. You're here now. That's what matters. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. You're my son. You'll always be my son. Nothing will ever change that. We stayed like that for a while. Just holding hands. Just being together. I had missed this. This closeness. This connection. I had missed him so much. Eventually, a nurse came in and said Daniel needed to rest. I kissed his forehead one more time. I'll be right outside if you need me. Mom? Yes. I love you. Those 3 words. I hadn't heard them in so long. They filled me with a warmth I had almost forgotten. I love you too, sweetheart. I walked back to the waiting room. Emily was still there. She looked up when she saw me. How is he? He's okay. He's awake. He wants to see you. Emily nodded and stood up. She walked past me, then stopped. She turned back. Mrs. Patterson. I need to say something. I waited. I was wrong. Her voice was quiet, almost ashamed. I thought I was protecting our marriage. I thought having boundaries meant keeping you at a distance. But I see now that I was just being selfish. Daniel loves you. He needs you. And I had no right to come between that. I didn't know what to say. I had waited so long to hear something like this. But now that I was hearing it, I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. Thank you for saying that, I said softly. Emily looked down at her hands. When I got the call about the accident, I was terrified. And the first thing I thought was that I needed to call you. Because you're his mother. You're the person who knows him best. And I realized how stupid I'd been. Trying to erase you from his life. Like you were a problem to be solved. You were scared, I said. You were trying to build a life with him. I understand that. But I went about it the wrong way. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I saw the tears in her eyes. And for the first time, I saw her not as the woman who took my son away, but as a young woman who was just trying to figure out how to be a wife. Who made mistakes. Just like we all do. Go see your husband, I said gently. He needs you. Emily nodded and walked toward Daniel's room. I sat back down in the waiting room. I felt something shift inside me. Something heavy that I had been carrying for months was starting to lift. Not completely, but enough that I could breathe a little easier. That night, I stayed at the hospital. I slept in an uncomfortable chair in the waiting room. I didn't care. I just wanted to be close to Daniel, in case he needed me. The next morning, Daniel was moved to a regular room. His condition was improving. The doctor said he would be able to go home in a few days. Emily and I took turns sitting with him. We didn't talk much, but the tension between us had softened. We were both just focused on Daniel. On the third day, while Emily was getting coffee, Daniel asked me to sit with him. He looked better. The color had returned to his face, but his eyes were serious. Mom, I've been thinking. About what? About everything. About how I want to live my life going forward. He paused. I don't want to be the kind of person who forgets where he came from. Who forgets the people who made him who he is. Daniel, please, let me say this. I want you to be part of my life. Really part of it. Not just someone I text on holidays. I want Sunday dinners. I want phone calls. I want to know what's going on with you. And I want you to know what's going on with me. My heart swelled. I would love that. Emily and I talked. She agrees. She wants to start over with you. Give you a real chance. If you're willing. Of course I'm willing. He smiled. That beautiful smile I had missed so much. Good. Because I don't want to waste any more time. I took his hand. Neither do I. Daniel came home from the hospital on a Saturday morning. Emily had called me the night before to let me know. She asked if I wanted to be there when they brought him home. I said yes. Of course I said yes. The next morning, I arrived at their apartment with a pot of homemade chicken soup. It was the same recipe my mother used to make for me when I was sick. The same one I had made for Daniel countless times when he was growing up. Emily opened the door. She looked tired. The past few days had taken a toll on both of us. But she smiled when she saw me. It was a real smile. Not forced. Not polite. Just genuine. Come in, Mrs. Patterson. Daniel's resting on the couch. Please call me Margaret, I said softly. She nodded. Margaret. And thank you for coming. Into their apartment. It was my first time actually being inside. The living room was small but cozy. There were photos on the walls. A bookshelf filled with novels and business books. A potted plant by the window. It looked like a home. Their home. Daniel was lying on the couch with a blanket over him. He looked up when he heard me. His face lit up. Mom. I set the soup down on the coffee table and sat beside him carefully. I didn't want to hurt him. How are you feeling? Sore. But better. The doctor said I'm healing well. That's good. I brought you some soup. Your favorite. He smiled. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. You need to keep your strength up. Emily came over and sat in the chair across from us. For a moment, we all just sat there. It felt strange. But also, right? Like pieces of a puzzle finally fitting together. Margaret, Emily began, I want to talk to you about something. If that's okay. I looked at her. Of course. She took a deep breath. I've been doing a lot of thinking. About everything that's happened. About how I handled things. And I realize now that I made a lot of mistakes. Emily, you don't have to. Please. I need to say this. She looked down at her hands. When Daniel and I got married, I had this idea in my head of what marriage should look like. I thought it meant creating a new life. Separate from everything that came before. I thought that's what being independent meant. But I was wrong. I stayed quiet. I wanted to hear what she had to say. Grew up in a big family, she continued. I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. My parents were always there. Always involved. Maybe too involved sometimes. When I moved out, I wanted space. I wanted to make my own decisions without everyone having an opinion. So when Daniel and I got married, I thought we needed that same space. That same separation. She looked up at me. Her eyes were glassy with unshed tears. But I didn't realize that Daniel's relationship with you is different. You weren't overbearing. You weren't controlling. You were just there. loving him, supporting him. And I saw that as a threat. I thought if he was too close to you, he wouldn't be fully committed to me, to us. I never wanted to come between you, I said quietly. I know that now. But I couldn't see it then. I was insecure. I was jealous of the bond you two had. And instead of trying to be part of it, I tried to break it. I convinced Daniel that boundaries meant distance, that being a good husband meant putting you second. And he believed me because he loved me, because he wanted to make me happy. Daniel reached out and took Emily's hand. We both made mistakes. Emily shook her head. No, this was my fault. You were just trying to be a good husband. I was the one who made you feel like you had to choose. I felt a lump forming in my throat. Hearing her admit this, it meant more than I could express. But I also didn't want her to carry all the blame. Emily, marriage is complicated. You were trying to build something new. That's not wrong. And maybe I didn't make it easy. Maybe I held on too tight without realizing it. You didn't do anything wrong, Daniel said firmly. Mom, you were perfect. You gave me space when I needed it. You supported my relationship with Emily. You did everything right. We're the ones who pushed you away. I reached over and squeezed his hand. What matters is that we're here now. Together. We can't change the past. But we can move forward. Emily wiped her eyes. I want that. I really do. I want us to be a family. A real family. And that includes you, Margaret. Not as an outsider. Not as someone we see once in a while out of obligation. But as someone who belongs. I felt tears rolling down my cheeks. I had waited so long to hear these words. I would love that. Over the next few weeks, things slowly began to change. Daniel recovered steadily. I visited him often. Sometimes Emily was there. Sometimes she wasn't. But when she was, we talked. Really talked. Not just polite small talk. We talked about our lives. Our fears. Our hopes. I learned more about her. About her family. About her dreams. And she learned more about me. One afternoon, Emily asked if I would teach her how to make my chicken soup. She said Daniel had been raving about it. I agreed. We spent the afternoon in their small kitchen, chopping vegetables and stirring the pot. It was simple. Ordinary. But it felt significant. Like we were building something. A bridge between us. My mother never really cooked, Emily said as she diced an onion. She was always working. We ate a lot of takeout growing up. I never learned how to make real meals. It's never too late to learn, I said. Cooking is like anything else. It just takes practice. And patience. She smiled. Daniel's lucky to have you. I can see that now. He's lucky to have you too. You make him happy. That's all I've ever wanted for him. I'll take better care of him. I promise. And I'll take better care of you too. If you'll let me. I looked at her. This young woman who I had seen as an enemy. Who I had resented. And I realized she wasn't an enemy at all. She was just someone trying to find her way. Just like all of us. I'd like that, I said softly. As the weeks turned into months, we developed a new rhythm. A new normal. Daniel and Emily started coming over for dinner every Sunday. Sometimes they cooked. Sometimes I cooked. Sometimes we ordered pizza and just talked for hours. It reminded me of the old days. When Daniel was younger. When it was just the two of us. But now there were 3 of us. And that felt right too. Daniel started calling me more often. Not just when he needed something. Just to talk. To check in. To tell me about his day. And I told him about mine. We rebuilt what we had lost. Slowly. Carefully. But genuinely. One Sunday evening, after dinner, Daniel and Emily made an announcement. We were sitting in my living room. I had just brought out tea. Emily looked nervous. Daniel looked excited. They exchanged a glance. Then Emily spoke. Margaret, we have something to tell you. My heart skipped. I wasn't sure what to expect. We're pregnant, Emily said, her face breaking into a huge smile. I gasped. My hand flew to my mouth. What? Really? Really, Daniel said, grinning. You're going to be a grandmother. I started crying. Happy tears. Overwhelming, joyful tears. I hugged them both. Oh my God. This is wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Emily hugged me back tightly. We want you to be part of this. We want our baby to know their grandmother. Really know you. Not just see you on holidays. I want that too, I whispered. More than anything. At night, after they left, I sat in my living room and looked around. The house didn't feel so empty anymore. It felt hopeful. Like life was beginning again. I thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the loneliness, the fear that I had lost my son forever. But I hadn't lost him. We had just lost our way for a while. And now we had found it again. The months passed. Emily's belly grew. I went with her to doctor's appointments. We shopped for baby clothes together. We painted the nursery. Daniel would laugh and say we were both going overboard. But he loved it. I could see it in his eyes. He was happy. We all were. One evening, Emily and I were sitting in the nursery, folding tiny onesies. She looked over at me. Can I ask you something? Of course. What was it like? Raising Daniel alone. I thought about it for a moment. It was hard. There were times I didn't think I could do it. Times I cried myself to sleep because I was so exhausted. So scared. But Daniel made it worth it. Every smile. Every laugh. Every little milestone. It made all the hard parts fade away. Were you ever angry? At his father for leaving? At first, yes. I was furious. I felt abandoned. Betrayed. But eventually, I realized that anger was just hurting me. Not him. He was gone. And I had a choice. I could stay angry, or I could focus on the beautiful thing I had been given. My son. So I chose Daniel. Every single day. Emily's eyes were watery. You're so strong. I'm not. I just did what any mother would do. I loved my child. That's all. I hope I can be half the mother you are. I reached over and took her hand. You're going to be a wonderful mother. I can already see it. She squeezed my hand. Will you help me? When the baby comes. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm terrified. I'll help you. I'll be there for you. For both of you. Whenever you need me. Thank you, Margaret. For everything. For forgiving me. For giving me another chance. You're family now, Emily. And family forgives. Family loves. No matter what. When the baby was born, I was there. It was a little girl. They named her Grace. And when they placed her in my arms for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Complete joy. Pure, unfiltered happiness. Daniel stood beside me, his arm around Emily. He looked down at his daughter, then at me. What do you think, Mom? I looked at the tiny, perfect face. At her little fingers wrapped around mine. At the new life that represented hope and second chances. I think she's perfect. We want you to be a big part of her life, Emily said softly. We want her to grow up knowing her grandmother. I would be honored. And I was. Over the next months, I watched Grace grow. I babysat when Daniel and Emily needed a break. I rocked her to sleep. I sang her lullabies. The same ones I had sung to Daniel. And when she looked up at me with those wide, trusting eyes, I felt like I had been given a second chance. A chance to love. A chance to be needed. A chance to matter. Daniel and I grew closer than we had ever been. We had been through the fire and come out stronger. He told me once, Mom, I'll never forget what I almost lost. I'll never take you for granted again. And he didn't. He called me every day. He included me in decisions. He asked for my advice. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Emily became more than just my daughter-in-law. She became my friend. We had coffee together. We laughed together. We supported each other. The walls that once stood between us had crumbled. And in their place, we built something better. Something real. It's been 3 years since that car accident changed everything. 3 years since I almost lost my son. 3 years since we found our way back to each other. And as I sit here today, watching Daniel push Grace on the swing in my backyard, I can't help but feel grateful. Grateful for second chances. Grateful for forgiveness. Grateful for the family I thought I had lost. Grace is 3 now. She's smart and curious and full of energy. She calls me Grandma. And every time I hear that word, my heart fills with joy. She stays with me on weekends sometimes. We bake cookies together. We read stories. We go to the park. The same park where I used to take Daniel when he was her age. Life has come full circle in the most beautiful way. Emily is pregnant again. Another girl. They asked me to help them choose a name. I suggested Rose, after my mother. They loved it. In a few months, I'll have 2 granddaughters. 2 little girls to love, to spoil, to watch grow up. I never imagined I would be this blessed. Daniel and I talk every day. Sometimes about important things. Sometimes about nothing at all. But we talk. And that connection, that bond we share, is stronger than ever. He tells me often that he's sorry for those lost months, for the time we can never get back. But I tell him the same thing every time. We're here now. That's what matters. And it's true. We can't change the past. We can't undo the hurt. But we can choose how we move forward. We can choose to love, to forgive, to hold on to what matters most. I've learned a lot through all of this. I've learned that love isn't about holding on tight. It's about letting go when necessary and trusting that the bond is strong enough to bring you back together. I've learned that forgiveness isn't just for the person who hurt you. It's for yourself too. Carrying anger and resentment only weighs you down. It steals your peace. It robs you of joy. I've also learned that family isn't perfect. We make mistakes. We say things we don't mean. We push away the people we love most. But if the love is real, it can survive anything. It can heal. It can grow stronger in the broken places. Sometimes people ask me how I got through those difficult months. How I survived feeling so alone and forgotten. And I tell them the truth. I survived because I had to. Because giving up was never an option. I had raised Daniel to be strong, to be resilient. And I had to practice what I taught him. I had to believe that things would get better, even when it felt impossible. And they did get better. Not all at once. Not overnight. But slowly. Gently. Like the sun rising after a long, dark night. Today, as I watch Daniel lift Grace into his arms and spin her around while she giggles, I feel a peace I haven't felt in years. This is what I wanted all along. Not to control his life. Not to come between him and his wife. Just to be part of it. To be included. To be loved. Emily walks over to me and sits down on the porch steps beside me. She's holding a cup of tea. She hands me one too. Beautiful day, isn't it? It really is, I say. Thank you, Margaret. For everything. You don't have to keep thanking me. Yes, I do. You taught me what it means to be a mother. What it means to love unconditionally. I see the way you are with Grace. The way you are with Daniel. And I want to be that kind of mother. That kind of person. I put my arm around her shoulders. You already are. We sit there together, watching Daniel and Grace play. Watching the life we've built together. And I realize something. I'm not just a mother anymore. I'm a grandmother. A friend. A part of something bigger than myself. And that's enough. More than enough. If I could go back and change what happened, I don't know if I would. Because the pain taught me something valuable. It taught me that love is worth fighting for. That family is worth the struggle. That forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds. My son stopped calling me mom for a while. But now he calls me every day. And when he does, I hear the love in his voice. I hear the gratitude. I hear the boy I raised and the man he's become. And I'm proud. So incredibly proud. Life isn't perfect. We still have hard days. We still disagree sometimes. But we face it together now. As a family. And that makes all the difference. So if you're reading this or listening to this and you're going through something similar, if you feel forgotten or pushed aside or like you don't matter anymore, please hold on. Hold on to hope. Hold on to love. Because things can change. People can change. And sometimes, the darkest moments lead to the most beautiful new beginnings. My name is Margaret. And this is my story. A story of loss and love. Of heartbreak and healing. Of a son who forgot and a mother who forgave. And most importantly, a story of how we found our way back home. Thank you for listening to Margaret's story. What would you do if you were in her place? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced something similar with your own family? Please share your story with me. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more emotional family stories. Your support means everything. Until we meet again, take care and cherish your loved ones.